Okay, well, good evening, everybody. It appears we're a somewhat small but mighty group. I'd like to thank you for joining us for our next community conversation, the first one of the new year. Happy New Year. And we'd like to also welcome all of our guests tuning in via Facebook Live. Again, just to remind you, the goals of these community conversations are pretty simple. It's really to have a regular, intentional avenue of communication, sharing of information about major events and updates that are happening around the district, and also to get input about these important topics. So I'd like to address two things tonight, and then of course we'll open it up for questions and conversation. First, I want to do what I call success stories, and I have just a couple of recent successes to share with everybody, and I think we need to celebrate that and never take them for granted, because there certainly is a lot of community and a lot of hard work that goes into achieving the successes of our schools and our students and our staff. And then I'd like to focus our attention on a topic that's been on a lot of our minds recently, and that is the forward motion toward the opening of our 9th school, K-8 school. And the board recently made an important decision in regards to the boundaries. And I really wanted to reassure the community about the intentional and frequent and many action steps that are underway to make sure that this is as seamless of a process as possible, and that that people have a chance to ask questions about any of these procedures pertaining to programs or student assignments to classes or staffing or operations or logistics, so that we make sure the process is smooth, and that when we're done, we're supporting the ultimate goal, which is that all of our schools have the capacity and the support and the structures in place to continue advancing our mission of student success and our vision of excellence. So with that, I'm going to highlight just a few points in terms of what I call success stories. Okay, this past weekend in Southern Arizona, there was the South Central Regional Band, Orchestra, and Choir event. It's a competition where students audition for the opportunity to be in what I liken to an all-star band. And these are students from all over the region. They are evaluated for participation, and then they are invited to come to a performance, kind of an all-star band, orchestra, and choir performance with their peers from the other different schools. And I highlight the list that you can see for one reason, and that is from both of our high schools, we have a large number of students. I want to say that the total number is upwards of over 30. I didn't even count them, but I'm just guesstimating that it's over 30. And you can see I'll tell you, there are students there from both Walden Grove and Sahuarita High School. They are orchestra students and band students. They play all a variety of different instruments, but they will be representing us, I think, in February at the Band and Orchestra Festival. And on the right side of the screen, you can see the same outcome in terms of choral music, that our students are recognized for their achievements, and they will be representing us at this special event. And I point that out because symbolically, I want to tell you that you don't achieve that kind of excellence just by happenstance. It's an intentional effort. It's an effort that doesn't also start at high school. It begins with a commitment to the fine arts as part of the overall educational process, from kindergarten up through the primary, intermediate, elementary grades, into middle school, and on into the high school levels. And so those names convey a complete community commitment to the fine arts as a part of our total educational program, and to the extra investment that requires. I'm convinced we would not have that number of students, that broad array of students in band, orchestra, and choir participating in this event if it were not for the local investment in our maintenance and operations override, which directly targets the fine arts and supports the presence of fine arts teachers from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And I think it's a validation of what I think is unique, special, and never to be taken for granted, and that is the spirit of community that brings us together. So congratulations to those students. If you're interested in attending, I believe that their concert is, I want to say, at 3 p.m. on February the 16th at Saguaro High School on the east side of Tucson. And again, our students will represent us with excellence. And speaking of excellence, our Naval JROTC program likewise continues to recognize and distinguish themselves not only here locally but across the state and even nationally. Recently, they competed in the Arizona State JROTC marksmanship competition and they came in first place. And again, that program is supported through local investment, through local communities, local groups, and our students respond with tremendous hard work, amazing advising and support from their instructors, Commander Roberson, Master Sergeant King, and they achieve excellence. They are alternates for the national marksmanship competition. They're attending this next month the Area 11 Super Bowl, which is a test of leadership, academics, physical fitness, drill of armed and unarmed variety. And they represent us very well. And then the lower right-hand corner is the Raider National. This is a very, very rigorous challenge. It's a problem-solving, team-building competition. It involves physical ability and endurance and teamwork. And this was I believe they were the first naval ROTC unit that competed in this event. It was near Atlanta, Georgia. And they came in 5th place in the entire country. So again, this is a program that is supported by the override and that it is enriched and maximized in terms of its quality by our local community, and this investment in our students continues to yield much fruit in terms of our students. I was also proudly told by Master Sergeant Jeff King, United States Marine Corps retired, that we have a young man who just received a nomination to 2 of the military academies, and another young man that's awaiting result on a Naval JROTC, not J, that's ROTC, that's the college version of a scholarship, which is a fantastic college education opportunity. It's a full scholarship, and he's waiting to hear from Texas A&M and University of Arizona. So these programs are producing opportunities for our students, and we're very, very proud of them. We recently also had our district spelling bee, and this was a very rigorous competition of students in the area of spelling. We had a couple dozen of them who competed at their school level and advanced to district level. And these are the 3 that distinguished themselves as our district champions. They all happen to be 7th grade. 2 from Anza, 1 from SMS, Annie Chen and Esteban Carrillo. 3rd and 2nd place respectively from Anza Trail, and the champion and the student that will represent us at the county competition is Lindsay Varner from SMS. So again, our students just are achieving great things, and it's a reflection of tremendously capable and dedicated teachers, a very, very supportive community that invests and goes the extra mile to provide these opportunities for our students, and our students that just seize that opportunity and work really, really hard to do great things. So, one of the biggest focus of our efforts and our objectives this year is the construction of this school. And I'm proud to tell you, before I turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Downs, to tell you in more detail, is that things are going remarkably well. Yes, there was a hiccup along the road, which is not totally unforeseeable when you build a project like this, when you engage in a multi-million-dollar project. Things will not always go as you anticipate. But overall, we're making forward motion, and Scott's going to share a little bit about how we're putting together the pieces of the puzzle in terms of leadership, in terms of community outreach, in terms of important details that are essential to build the foundation and the culture of the school, in terms of the logistics to make sure this is a smooth transition for the students that will be going there and for their teachers, and that in the end, the movement, literally and figuratively, from this campus to the other one will be as effective as possible, and that it'll eventually provide the ultimate goal and outcome, which is to make sure that all of our schools are continuing to move upward and onward in terms of quality, and that we have the capacity to meet the needs of this community that is continuing to grow. So with that, I will turn the presentation over to Mr. Downs, who will talk about some of these updates pertaining to the boundary and transition, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Downs.
All right, thank you, Dr. Valenzuela. I do want to apologize in advance that I've kind of been congested for about 2 weeks. I don't have the flu, but so if I cough, I will certainly not do it in the microphone. So my apologies to begin with. We've kind of been on a journey so far about opening up the new school, and there's many small details and large big picture items that you need to account for. One, you need to build the school first, then you need to create the boundaries, then you know what students go there, then you need to figure out what staff goes there, then you need to figure out how all of that is going to happen. I can say that I'm appreciative of our school board. They have approved the boundaries. So we're going to talk quickly about the boundaries just so everyone is familiar with that, and then we'll talk about some of the details of the transition. So this is what the school board had approved at the last governing board meeting. Although that is a unique shape, the easiest way to describe it to people is it's anything south of Sarita Road, but north of Duval Mine Road, and from La Villita on the east going west just to the mines. So if we're talking about McGee Ranch and Wrangler Ranch, that all stays the main campus. Also, there was some confusion about the neighborhood south of Walmart. And it was a little red triangle in previous slides where we were talking about maybe a SOPRI option, but the committee had heard feedback, and that wasn't an option for several reasons, so we didn't recommend that. So that neighborhood south of Walmart is still main campus. And the first thing that people always say is, well, it doesn't make sense because I always drive by a school and it's not the nearest school for me. And the easiest way that I can describe that is if you look at Rancho Sarita, the people on the north side of Rancho Sarita come to the main campus. And if people in those neighborhoods always say, well, God, I drive right by Anza, why can't I just go to Anza? Well, the fact is within Rancho Sarita, if everyone went to the closest school, everyone would almost be going to Anza. Or the neighborhoods right next to Anza would be coming to the main campus. So this is kind of the same reason. We took the neighborhoods closest to that school, and those are the neighborhoods going to the new school, which leaves all those neighborhoods south of Walmart still coming to the main campus. The numbers going into the new school, I appreciate Dr. Valenzuela. He wrote a letter and told all of our community how we're going to be opening. We are opening K-5. For logistical reasons and staffing reasons and scheduling reasons, we had determined and recommended that the middle school stay in place for the entirety next school year. Again, having a pre and post holiday schedule with staffing and clubs and sports and testing, there's a lot of complexities in the middle school. So we thought it was a lot better to have a soft opening, which means in January of 2019, we will open with kindergarten through 5th grade. With the projections that we have and moving students up one grade level, it's projected to open up with 413 students. With kindergarten, we always repeat what happened the year before, which is not perfect, but it's the best that we can do. So we're anticipating opening around 413. Once the K-8 or the 6-8 move over the next school year, which will be in August of 2019 for the 1920 school year, that school should increase to just under 700. And because of that school's capacity, we will still be able to handle some of the new growth, which I'm appreciative of the boundary committee. There's a neighborhood that is south of Animax Park, and eventually Rancho Sarita says they're going to start building up some homes right next to the new school, so we'll be able to handle that anticipated growth. So again, the school next year, all students will come to the main campus. In January of 2019, just K-5 will go over, and I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like in just a moment. Also, the governing board meeting, we had 2 new neighborhoods that were being built. These neighborhoods were actually slated for Onset Trail School, and we're at capacity at Onset Trail School because now with the new growth that is happening and with the boundary alignment and some of the main campus being transferred to the new school, we're able to handle these 2 neighborhoods in red at the main campus. So Entrada del Rio and Entrada La Villita will be main campus, which is SPS, SIS, Cerrito Middle School, and Cerrito High School. I want to take a quick tangent. A lot of people had trouble when they were looking on Facebook about what neighborhood their school would be in. And Miss Amber Woods, our community liaison, has put together an interactive map. So I just want to quickly show you how to get there. So in the middle of your screen, there's a little menu button. And if you drop down on that menu, you have a bunch of choices. Oops, excuse me. And so if you click on families, once you click on families, you'll get to a screen that looks like this. And on that screen, if you click down enrollment and it gives you a couple more choices and you click on boundary, you get a boundary map in the middle of your screen. You can click on that map, you can zoom it in and out, and when you click on a neighborhood, it'll tell you what schools are in that map. So you can click what's the elementary school for this location, or the middle school, or the high school. So a fantastic interactive map. So if you have any questions on what neighborhood that your school is, you can look at that map, or certainly you can call our district office and we'd be happy to help you as well. So the new school opening kindergarten through 5th grade with the projections, again, those will be the number of students in each grade level. We'll have 60, 60, 72, etc., up to 88 in 5th grade. With a tentative number of teachers, those will be the tentative class sizes. Also at the main campus, what will be left at the main campus, there will be 460 at Cerrito Primary School, 461 at SIS, and again, the new school will be 413. With the number of teachers, which is in purple, we will need 4 more teachers than we have this year. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in terms of what the staffing will look like in terms of the student perspective. But those 4 new teachers are actually needed in the 4th and 5th grade level. And with that, we're going to have to put them into Cerrito Intermediate School. And I'll talk about why in a moment. Because these students came off of the main campus, they're going to continue that track because we didn't want to change our feeder pattern into the high schools and change that drastically. So the new K-8 school, which again is opening K-5, will feed into Cerrito High School. And this is probably the most important slide in the new slide about some of the alleviation of the transition issues. We're going to do what we've done in the past, is we are going to take all the next year's kindergarten kids, and we know where they come from, and we are going to put them in the appropriate class. And what I mean by appropriate class is we know what neighborhoods they come from, so we're going to put them into a classroom. If they are going to eventually be stationed at the new school, we are going to put them in a school that is going to transfer to the new school. So if let's take 1st grade at SPS, we'll split them up on the students who are staying and the students who will need to go. They will have their assigned teachers, and at the holiday season, basically what will happen is they will spend their last day at Cerrito Primary School, and then over the Christmas break, we'll move the classroom and set it up in the new classroom, and that entire class, they'll stay with their students and they'll stay with their teacher. They just now start in January at the new school. So they won't have to meet new kids in their classroom. They won't have a new teacher. It'll be that same exact class that just gets picked up and transferred to the new school. Also, we have some anticipated open houses before the school opens, so it won't be like the students are arriving at the school for the first time in January and wondering where to go. So there'll be many opportunities that Mrs. Lizardi is going to reach out to the family and community members to have those open houses for them to get to know Mrs. Lizardi. And so she'll start building that new school culture and community from the very first day of school next year. There's also a current survey that's out. It started January 25th and it's going to be closing out February 9th. And that is going to all the members of the community, and another survey that is specifically for parents and kids of the new school. And in both of those surveys, you have an opportunity to talk about or give your vote on school colors, mascot, and the school name. Eventually, the school name will go to the school board, because by school board policy, the board is the ultimate body that names the school. So with recommendations that come in through that survey, they will make a decision. And to get to those surveys, basically if you go to our website and in the little search button, if you hit surveys, both of those will come up. You can click on, parents of the new school or community member. Same survey, but just different subgroups. And finally, because we can't forget about our 6th through 8th grade school, nothing will change next year. All those students will be at Sarita Middle School. So we want to ensure that we are supporting the middle school as much as we possibly can. We will be looking at additional teachers, additional support staff. We may be looking at the usage of some Sarita High School classrooms for appropriate classes, maybe a gifted math class that might go over for one class. They won't be infiltrated, to my knowledge, to Sarita High School. There'll be a specific classroom that they can just go in and out of, so we don't have to worry about the intermixing of high school students with middle school students. And with that, I believe that is my presentation. With the 4 new teachers that we'll need because of the kindergarten through 5th grade, I said that they're going to have to be housed at Sarita Intermediate School. I've already started talking with Mrs. Nito about where we can put those classrooms. We're talking about staff right now and seeing which staff can go. We'll have a balance of staff at each school. You don't want all of your brand new teachers to go. You don't want all of your experienced teachers to go. You don't want all your teachers who just do all the extracurricular activities. So we're going to look through that, and although this is a community forum, I think it's important to know that a happy teacher is a good teacher, so we look at volunteers first and make sure it's appropriate, and then we start looking at the program to see if it makes sense. Because of those 4 new teachers, it kind of doesn't make sense if you think about, well, we don't have a bunch of new kids, so why do we need new teachers? Well, one, we're actually bringing class sizes down a little bit because we have that opportunity. But, excuse me, the second reason, and I'll give a very simplistic answer, let's assume that there's 50 kids in 1st grade. And we have 2 teachers in 1st grade, so each class is at 25 kids. Let's assume that because of the boundaries, 10 of those 50 kids go to the new school. Well, those 10 kids are going to need a teacher, and certainly you can't leave 40 kids with 1 teacher left at the school that was the origination school. So we'd have to hire another 2 teachers. So because we have the same number of students doesn't necessarily mean those students always necessarily move in exact multiples of a classroom size. So that's why we'll need 4 additional classrooms. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. And Dr. Valenzuela, we can answer questions pertaining to anything that Dr. Valenzuela said or the transition into the new school.
I have a question about the staffing in the new school. So I'm sure many teachers in the district are probably interested in pursuing options to work at the new school. Will those teachers have the opportunity, say they're not on main campus, to apply, and where would they be working next year?
Yes, the question is, if you're on Facebook with us, the question was actually about staffing. It was a teacher that asked that. Are teachers from other schools, Anza Trail, Copperview Elementary School, going to have the opportunity to apply at the new school? The answer will be yes. But there's a caveat to that yes, because obviously we're hiring new teachers. I already know of 3 or 4 teachers who are resigning and moving to other states. So there will be those opportunities. But because of the boundary and because I need to reduce the staff at those other schools, unfortunately that first priority is trying to make sure that I address the decrease in staff at both Sarita Primary School and Sarita Intermediate School, and then whatever is left and open, anybody will be able to apply for those open positions. I know there will be several of them, one because of the 4 new positions, and like I said, I know 3 new teachers who are going to be resigning, so I can tell you right there, there's 7 teaching opportunities there at the new school. Good question.
For the sake of anybody that's on Facebook listening, I just wanted to report from here in the auditorium that, and I'm proud to say that we have 4 of our board members, Ms. Zimmerman, Mr. Sparks, Mr. Murphy, and Mrs. Ham, who are all here present. This is a posted event, in case you were wondering. And because I was speaking with board member Lowell right before I came here, I know that she's tuning in from Facebook. She's out of town on work. So it just speaks to the dedication and the visibility of our board. And I say thank you. And again, if there's any questions about the boundaries, these community conversations, we are striving to continue to increase them with frequency and regularity. In addition, Mrs. Woods will be providing regular communication, written, electronic, and otherwise. Our goal is to make this process smooth, thoughtful, covering of important details, and again, serving the best interest of all of the schools. And that's our orientation going forward. Any specific questions that we could tackle?
There's a hand in the question. I want to reiterate one thing, because I did talk about it kind of quickly. I did want to reiterate, especially for kindergarten through 5th grade parents, that they will be housed in a classroom and be all together for the first half of the year with their teacher that will go to the kindergarten through 8th grade school. So again, they'll start the year at Sarita Primary School or Sarita Intermediate School. That class will pick up and move all together in one unit and then start at the new school in January. So again, they won't have new teachers, they won't have to meet new kids. That'll be as smooth as a transition as we can possibly make it with that move. Yes?
Since the K-5 isn't opening until January, where will there be a music teacher and computers and all of that already hired? And where are they going to be housed?
That's a good question. We haven't worked through all those details in terms of the specialists, because one, our current music teachers are able to handle the caseload and what they have now. But there's one thing to keep in mind is when we do hire, right now is the hiring season. So if we don't hire at the beginning of the school year, we're going to be looking, in November and December for a music teacher and a PE teacher. So that will have to be a discussion that we have in terms of the pros and cons of both. If we can afford it, we could hire a music teacher and a PE teacher now. They can help with some of those schedules at Sarita Primary School and Sarita Intermediate School, but we haven't specifically answered that question yet, because Charlotte Gates, our business manager, gets the state budget usually at the end of February, beginning of March, and we have our large staff discussion in March. So that question probably won't be answered until March, but I know the new principal, Mrs. Lizardi, is wanting to know that question as soon as possible, because we want to hire the best teachers that we can. So that's a really good question, but my honest answer is it would be ideal to hire them at the beginning, but we'll have to see what the budget supports.
Just to add on to that, I think in essence what Scott's saying is that strategically it makes sense to incur whatever additional staffing we believe A, will be necessary, and B, that we will be able to afford long term, and to make that investment to the greatest extent possible, as early as possible, from the strategic standpoint of identifying the most highly qualified people and supporting that seamless movement from the main campus to the new campus. Because programmatically and in terms of service, we will be serving the same kids, we will be developing the same programs. They will just be physically present on the main campus and just transitioning. So to the extent that we can afford it, the plan is that, as the proverbial saying goes, the early bird gets the worm. We want to get the best people, which is always a driving force and part of our recruiting and staffing strategy.
Another question came in on Facebook. The same question, but the question was about counselors, and that would be the same answer.
Special ed teachers, same answer?
Special ed teacher we've actually already analyzed, and we are going to have to hire one special education teacher. And again, whether we do it now or in December will be the operative. Working with our student services department, I've gotten all the IEPs a number of students in each grade level, and I've sat down with Mrs. Bayomi, our director, and we've kind of come up with a plan, and that plan has been articulated to Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Nito, and Mrs. Lizardi.
Yes, sir.
It came up at the last board meeting. With the continued growth in hear a couple of the questions. Can you just touch on open enrollment and how that will be looked at because it came up with ONSA and outside the district?
That's an excellent question, and you know it's one that's important, and that is not. It sounds simple, but it's not, because again, open enrollment legislation in the state of Arizona has been around for now decades, and I know because I've been an educator now for multiple decades, and the idea is to provide elements of student choice and opportunity in education, and it's important in the broad view. Our approach has been, and I would say it's been for most districts in this market-driven competitive world of education that it has become, is that there's value in being the type of organization that people want to come to. At the same time, you have to balance that with meeting your obligations in terms of capacity and space and size. So our practice has been to leave discretion for school principals in terms of the approval of outside open enrollment. Open enrollment in its pure sense is people from outside your area that want to come to one of your schools. The other practice that's sometimes used interchangeably is what's called inter-district transfers. That's students that are Sahuarita students in our case, no matter what, that for whatever reason, personal preference, individual program need, would like to go to another school besides the one where they happen to physically reside. And the open enrollment piece we leave largely to and the other ones too, to the discretion of the school principals. They know how much space they have, they know their class sizes, and they're entrusted to make those decisions and responsible for managing those. I think as our capacities have grown, it's one that we're continuing to speak with our principal leadership team about being cognizant of the fact that space is an issue and that we need to be conscientious of our ability to manage that space, while at the same time being aware of the fact that the ability to sustain, manage growth is economically and operationally a sound practice, and also on the inter-district side, to understand that accommodating the needs of our families to the greatest extent that we can is part of our service model of serving with excellence. And one of the, in that same light, not just in general, but one of the little things that we do for our professional and valued support staff team members when they come to work for us, there's a lot of talk about teacher salaries, recruitment and retention, and we're working very hard to meet and elevate those needs. But there's also sometimes the little things that we can do to help. And when we talk to I have a superintendent teacher advisory forum, a classified staff advisory forum, and when we talked about this with them, about the fact that before, and this predates me, it's a long-standing tradition that one of the things we try and do is honor staff members who want to bring their kids to a Sahuarita school, to go to school here, and we've honored those. So it's a balancing act. We're working hard as a result of our ongoing quest to review these practices, to perhaps be more communicative, concrete, and reinforcing with our principals about awareness regarding this balance between choice, flexibility, opportunity, and also managing capacity. As you can tell, even in my trying to answer it, it's not an easy thing to answer in a simplistic way. Any other questions? Comments? Good. I did want to put in a plug. The state of the district will be an opportunity for me to do what I love to do, one of the things I love to do best, and that is to share success stories. There will be more success stories. There will be performances by our students, an opportunity to see the amazing work in the fine arts and in other academic and athletic programs. It will feature students from all levels, from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade, and that event is on February the 8th. It's a luncheon at the casino, and that information I believe is on our website, and it's open. If you'd like to buy a ticket, they're affordable. I think they cost $40, and basically any overage goes right into our Educational Enrichment Foundation for teacher mini grants, for scholarships, and to the noble work of that organization. I also want to tell you, again, in line with our continuous and continuing commitment to regular communication, regular outreach, keeping our community informed about the important issues that they care about and that we're committed to in serving the community in a great way. Our next community conversation will be, I believe tentatively, I thought I saw an invite that has been scheduled for February 26th, and we'll be focusing on an important topic, which is programs that are directly targeted and intentionally supported by our local maintenance and operation override. And we're going to talk about what those programs are, how they are an integral part of our overall educational programs, and kind of the future of those programs going forward. So if there's no further questions, I guess we'll go ahead and thank everybody for being with us this evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you around campus. Thank you.